Hey, everybody, welcome into Business Salad, where we mix up all things business for you for free. We are your hosts, Stevie and Laura. How you doing today, Laura?
Great. It's a beautiful day. How
It
about
is
yourself?
a beautiful day outside. I hope everybody is having a great day at work today, because today we are going to be talking about guerrilla networking. That does not mean networking with gorillas.
What?
What? Sorry. I know.
Been lied
That's
to
it.
again.
We're out of here, guys. That's it. Until next time. But really, what does that mean when you hear that? Are you putting on your camouflage and going and finding somebody to pin down and network with? No. Well, probably
Yes.
not. I don't know. I guess it depends on what you're networking for.
Figuratively.
That's right.
Figuratively, you're getting ready to,
Yes.
kind of go into battle to
That's right.
do that networking and meet people
That's right. So guerrilla
creatively.
networking about being strategic, people. There's a reason you're building your network. You're trying to build those long-lasting relationships built on trust and honesty. But how do you do that? What are some tips? How do you do that if you're an extrovert or an introvert? Let's talk
Yes.
about that. Yes, because Laura, you're my extroverted introvert. Ambivert?
I guess I am an ambivert for sure. That would probably surprise people who know me. They're going to say, no, Laura's an extrovert, but don't be fooled by the facade. I walk into a room of people I don't know, my stomach goes, oh no, panic, run away. Whereas you, I mean, come on, you walk into a room and you're like, spotlight's on. It's Stevie.
I am the drama. Yes. Who can I talk to here? Who needs to know me?
Right.
But I think there are some quick tips that you can keep in mind, right? So, any
Absolutely.
networking event, give more than you take, right? So, as much as I want everybody to know who I am, what can I do for them? Have respect for others, be yourself, be authentic, right? You don't want to fake it till you make it in a networking event. Be who you are, be humble, have patience. What else you got, Laura?
Well, I think be patient is a really cool thing you just tacked on there, because not just patience with the process, but patience with yourself. No, we don't want to fake it, be your authentic self. But if your authentic self is that person against the wall, like just eating the cheese on the toothpick and like, okay, how long do I stay here? Then it's okay to fake it to make it a little bit.
Yes.
It's feel the room out, get yourself in a good
Yeah.
place, maybe get yourself centered before you get there. You can make a little list of maybe what your goals are for that event.
I like it.
Is there someone in particular you're hoping is going to be there? And what will you talk to them about? If there's no one there that how do you plan to kind of have that attack plan, of who you'll speak
Yes.
to first or how you'll approach? So yeah, take it
Yeah.
a little bit till you make it.
Absolutely. And I think when you're making that list and you think about some starting points, you should think about, what are your interests? What do you like learning about? What intrigues you? What would you like to know more about? Maybe a professional list. What business functions do you find difficult or challenging? What are your ambitions? And then also extracurricular stuff. What do you do to relax? What's something you'd like to get into? These are all ways that you can connect with people at these events. You don't have to walk right up and start selling. We're there to make connections and build relationships, right?
Long term, yeah, that's
Yes.
the key, is relationships. I'm sure, Stevie, you've seen at events, I call them the sharks, and not the same type of shark that you are, but the sharks that are kind of like, okay, these are the top people in this room that I want to get in front of. Great strategy. But they go in like really hard sell, like, hi, I'm so and so, and I'm with this agency or this institution, or this is what my whatever is I'm selling, and here's my card. Okay, well, you just met that person 20 seconds ago and you just blasted them with information. They don't have any connection to you, assuming this is, again, brand new person you haven't met. So
Right.
what was accomplished there? Like, how often does that tactic truly work?
Yes. And I'm going to tell you guys that if you come to me at any level, if I am just in the final 3 feet of a company and I'm at a networking event, just being the face of the company, or if I'm an executive, if I have a C in front of my title, anything C-suite, and you come up and you just blast me with information like that, it is going in one ear and out the other. You have done nothing memorable for me. So I will take that business card and I will tuck it away, and I will look at it later and say, who? I don't remember that. And I won't be reaching out to you again. So definitely put some depth into it. I think that's really important.
Well, connections, we talked a lot on our show about connections, your female tribe, your female friends, people that we talk about the tattoo stories, and like that can build a connection when someone sees that, whatever. But, we're trying to, especially in a smaller area, we are seeing people on a repeated basis. So if this is your first time seeing that person at an event, if this is an event that you attend monthly or bi-monthly, it's likely you're going to see that person again. So how can we start off making that first intro be something to build upon? Whenever you start with your guns and whistles and fireworks and whatever, you've gone to the top, you showed your whole hand, you really haven't given yourself any place to build, to build the rapport. I mean, it comes down to rapport.
Yeah, it does. It does. And so then what do you recommend as somebody who is maybe naturally a little more introverted? How do you find ways to kind of do that at networking events? Like what do you find works for you?
Well, funny story about that, true story. So at an event several months ago, I was feeling a little bit shyer. It was a Chamber of Commerce event and I didn't really know anyone there. Typically I have my crutch person that I know I can circle the room and come back to, like a little anchor, that I'm safe and we can kind of confer and I can get myself back together to go back into the deep. But, I think for an introvert, you are not the only introvert there. There are people there by themselves. There are people there who are nervous. And I like to look around for the people that look like they're a little bit more timid and that do not have a circle around them. I'm not good at like breaking into a conversation or like, coming up, haha, yeah, anyway, I know, no, I don't like that. So several months ago, I was at an event and there was a girl there that I had seen around. We had never spoken, but I saw that she was by herself too. And I went over and we struck up a conversation, and, she works for a local like magazine at that time. And she then became someone who started to come to the networking event that we host now monthly, Stevie, and is a really cool person. And she has a lot of great connections that she's introduced us to. And again, just, a person that I wouldn't have probably come in contact with in my normal circle, but I saw a kindred spirit, someone that was there kind of like, oh gosh, I'm not sure who to talk to first. And this is a little bit new for me. I don't know this group. So that's how an introvert does it. How would you have gone in that same room?
Well, and it's funny too, because I know who you're talking about. And when you hear her title and you think about what she does, you immediately associate her with being very extroverted, just
right.
Based on that. So, hearing that should just reassure those of you out there who are uncomfortable at those networking events. Don't let those titles and things fool you, because some people are really pushing themselves outside of their comfort zones every day. Because remember, that comfort zone's a trap.
But it's so comforting. Yeah. It says it right there in the title.
Yeah. So as an extrovert who walks into a room, generally I gravitate towards people who look like they display the same characteristics I do. So my favorite way to break into talking to someone is generally the way that I like to allow people to talk to me, which is I look for something to compliment them on. That's my favorite thing. So if I see a lady who's wearing a great pair of shoes, like everybody knows that I wear kind of crazy shoes, and I love it when people talk to me about them. I just had a customer say to me today, I love your shoes. That's my favorite thing. And even if I'm having a bad day or in a funky mood, that will get me talking right away. It's a great way to connect. So I will generally look for something like that. But I can tell you, I can find something to say to just about everybody. Mm-hmm. But I think too that it's important to define your value proposition before you go into an event. You really is this valuable to me? And will this be valuable to the person I want to connect with? So before you go do that, like regardless of how you're connecting with people, make sure that you like you said, you make a list, you kind of have a plan in place so that once you get talking, you can find that way to kind of gently segue in. But I mean, if you're at a networking event, people will probably say, so what do you do? Who are you with?
Sure.
Because
Yeah.
that's kind of what you're expecting there. But I am the opposite. I can just walk right up to a group of people, or I can just stand on the outside of a group and kind of listen to the conversation, and I will find a way to interject myself. Yeah. I don't I don't really have a problem with that. And people may think I'm weird or crazy, but I feel like we're at that networking event. We're there to meet people. So I will. Yeah. And I
don't think you're coming off weird or crazy when you do that either, because like you say, be your authentic self, that you don't do that in such a way where it's not natural to you. Like you're not kind of coming off awkward, because that is your strong personality. Versus if I would really have to practice a lot to be able to do that and not say something completely, off the cuff and be like, oh my gosh, that was so embarrassing, and think about it for 3 years. But I think, a cool thing to note here too, you and I have been at the same events, and, not sticking together like glue, but kind of circling. And then we will come back to each other. And like, you have talked to completely different people that I have talked to, and you might have insights on people that I have met before, haven't talked to at this event yet, that I did not get from them. So, I think a part of guerrilla marketing, it may be that proper utilization of a networking partner. Being careful though, because you don't want to be that cluster of people at an event where you come with your own clique and you stick with your own clique. So there is an art to it.
Yes. And I feel like that is really prolific, especially the huge events where people really get going. Like they stick to their little table and they stick to their little group and they don't leave. And you're really not, if you really are truly trying to network, you are not doing yourself any justice. You're certainly not doing your company any justice. Like if you're paid to be at that event, you really at least put some kind of effort in, even if it's really just being strategic about who are you going to identify. I don't care if you just fly around the room and you just kind of listen to the conversations that are happening. Maybe you catch a name, maybe you catch somebody that you're like, I need to look into that person and see if there's a way that I can connect on my own when I'm comfortable. That's fine. Yes. But yeah, at least do something productive. Get out of the refreshment line. I know that's hard. That's one of my favorite things.
Or out of the bar line. Like that's another thing too. I tend to see people, well, you get there and everyone's a little nervous, or a lot of us are a little nervous. So they go up, I'm just going to get my little glass of wine or whatever it might be. And then sometimes we don't leave that. It's like, okay, we'll bring your wine and now take it over and start to meet people. But the strategizing, like I'm hearing a snippet of a conversation. Oh, wait, so this person knows that person. Okay, I'm going to tuck that back for next time, or, because it is a finite period when you go to these events, particularly if they are strictly networking events versus you taking another opportunity and it's a networking event for you, but that's not what it's being billed as. And there is a difference.
Right. Absolutely. And also, you guys, when we probably right now, because we're talking so much about it, it seems like we're kind of pigeonholing into networking events. That is not the only place you can guerrilla network. I mean, you've got social media platforms. Obviously, LinkedIn is huge within the business community. Email, apps, like one of them is like Shaper, I think, and then Zabo, I think. But there are like networking apps that you can download. Get involved with your community, volunteer, training courses, person-to-person events. Like, don't feel like you just have to go seek out a networking event. And really, guerrilla networking can start. I think they say that most people know like 50, they have 50 connections, right? Unless you're really like out in the public. Most people have 50 connections. You can start there, but then every time you talk to one of those 50 connections, you need to be asking them, who do they know that you can talk to?
Right. Who do you know?
You have to keep expanding that in order to effectively do that guerrilla networking. And I think that before we went live, you were telling me a story about somebody who had kind of like a cool thing that they would do. Was it like with a school or something?
So, a lot of my colleagues, they have great insights into how they network and meet people and get in front of new faces. And, one of the things I heard at a recent meeting was the gentleman said that whenever his kids were younger, He was the soccer coach, he was the baseball coach, he was, really involved in his kids' lives. So he was with the kids all the time, in the evenings. So it's like, oh, little Johnny, oh, your dad's the CPA. Can I meet him? When's he come pick you up? Or, oh, I think, does your uncle have the auto shop? Oh, I'd love to come see the auto shop. So like, even just, I mean, it kind of sounds funny, but it's about how can I get in front of someone that I wouldn't normally be in front of, volunteering, kind of expanding upon that, being that coach, being that volunteer. Volunteering events are great because they are not built as networking. Obviously, you're there to do a common, passion project, whatever it may be, to help somebody. So you're coming from all different parts of different industries, different walks of life for one common purpose. So you already have something in common because you're there for that purpose. But there are people that they're not going to be at your standard industry or networking events that you're at all the time because they're maybe not in that type of a circle. So like, how can you, not that you're always, like, how can I turn this into something, but how are you always keeping yourself open to making a new friend? That you can possibly help or help their friend, and they're hopefully thinking the same thing.
Yes. And there are a couple of things there that I would really like to underline that you said. One, when you mentioned different industries coming together, because there are industries that will hold networking events, but you have to be cognizant of who's going to be at that event. For example, when I was in real estate, there were networking events that were put on by title companies would put them on, mortgage brokers, like there were always, but who's going to be there? Because if you're not going to find somebody who is in the same profession you are, who is another realtor or whatever that you need to connect with for a purpose, maybe I needed to find a commercial partner or whatever, then that would make sense. But you need to be careful and make sure that you've got really an eclectic group that you're going to see who you can provide value to them, but they can also provide value to you. Unless you're just going for the free food and booze, which you can find at realtor networking events any day. And we will be there. Realtors will be there if there's free food, guaranteed.
Bankers will be too,
Yeah. I mean, weird how that works. Yes.
Yeah.
But definitely try to, if you can, scope out who's going to be there. Are we going to have a mix of industries? Because that's really where it's going to benefit you. And the other thing was when you said, not that you're trying to turn it into something, right? But I do think that people need to be cognizant to not shut that off. Like, don't ever think this is an inappropriate. I mean, I'm sure there are a couple of inappropriate places, but listen, connections get made in the weirdest places at the weirdest times. So just don't shut yourself off to that possibility, regardless of where you are. You could be sitting in traffic. I have a good example of this. So I was sitting in traffic. I was coming to a stoplight and I pulled up next to someone who had a corgi sticker on the back of their car.
Oh, there you go.
I know. And then she had this really cool hood ornament and like the car she had done, it wasn't a PT Cruiser, it was something else, but she had like the big vinyl on it. So it looked like a Woody. And so like, I'm like, told her to roll her window down. We're having this whole conversation at the light. Like, and if it was something that I wanted to pursue, I totally could have asked her if we could connect on a social site.
Mm-hmm.
Like we were talking about our dogs. We were doing all this stuff. So just even sitting in traffic, you can find people to connect with. Just, careful who you roll your window down for.
Yeah, that was brave. But I guess you had a vibe, but I think talking about like different backgrounds and everything, and something similar that you've done was whenever you were pregnant, creating the mama group, and these were women that you were still in contact with, but they are across all industries, all professions, and you've got some really cool people that you can reach out to and ask questions. You can get insights, because as far as networking, it's not obviously just about, what am I selling for where I work, but it's also how am I building my own brand? How am I expanding my own knowledge base? How am I improving or learning more about something that I'm not involved in yet. So like you've got like this whole tribe of experts that you keep in contact with. I think it's so cool. Like I know I have not met your friends and, but I feel like I know a lot of them because you talk about them and, and it's an amazing and eclectic group, just what we want to have in our lives.
That's right. And just to the point that we're talking about, I have done business with many of them through those connections, whether it was a small business that they had or going into large partnerships with them, because I did that too. So really definitely don't ever write it. And it took years to cultivate some of those relationships, or when we got to the point where it was actually like we were talking business. But that's still going. It's been, oh my gosh, 9.5 years now. So yeah, it's been a lot. And I was just talking with some of the girls just this morning. So yeah.
I mean, it's incredible, and I know they get so much value from that too. So, how that value comes in, it can be in many different forms,
Yeah,
which is
absolutely.
amazing. And let's touch on, because of where we live. Okay. We're a little bit, more rural area. We're not definitely in a, big city or anything of that nature where there's lots and lots of opportunities that are as obvious. What's your take on how do you network in an area where it feels like you already know everybody?
So this, I will say, does feel like something that's a little bit more of a challenge for me, having gone from a huge melting pot international city, where you do meet, although I will say Vegas is the biggest little city. If you live there, you see people, all the time, which is crazy. But out here, I really think it's about creating those opportunities. First of all, you don't want to just let them come to you. So like, for example, what we did, we started a networking group, and through that networking group, we have pulled people in from outside areas, because we've told people who come to the group, who do you know that you can bring?
Bring a friend.
So that's right. So now we're pulling people in from cities away who will come to visit us every month, who bring value to the group, to whom I hope we bring value. And then I would say also, really just utilizing that sense of family that you get in a small town area, because there are people who have lived out here, who have been here for so long, that you think you know everybody, but you really don't. So I think really making it a point to establish those relationships on a family style level, because it's different in a small town,
It is.
everybody's family. There was a whole song about that. So, it's, it's different, and small towns can be cliquey, you guys. And so sometimes it can be hard to break into that if you're new. I will say that I've had people flat out ask me my last name, and when they didn't recognize it immediately, they're like, "Oh, you're not from around here."
Yeah, these your people.
That's right, because they
I need to know. Yeah.
But then
That's the relationship.
Huh?
That's the relationship building. Like, you can't come in with that guns blaring, fireworks going off. Here's my business card. They're like, we got to get your flavor first. We don't know you. We got to feel you out and see if you're cool.
That's right. And really being consistent and making sure that they understand that they, you want them to know, like, and trust you, because there's nothing like word of mouth in a small area where it gets through the grapevine fast. Bad news will travel fast, gossip will travel fast, but so will good news. And we have seen that firsthand in our industry, where one person comes in and has a great experience, not just with the people in our building, but with our products. And immediately behind them, they send 2, 3, 4 people to come take advantage of the same thing. So that is,
you're getting their cousin, you're getting their sibling, you're getting their neighbor. Absolutely. And I think, the trust factor is key, but I think also the follow-up, so now you've met them, you've got the name, what do we do with it?
Right. Yes. Yeah. Please, people, use your CRM. When we're talking about maintaining your Guerilla network, use your CRM, use that client relationship manager.
I was like, that's an acronym. You got to explain. Not everybody has a CRM.
I'm with you. Yes. It's a client relationship manager. I don't care if it's an Excel sheet. Back in the day, it used to be a Rolodex. You just need to make sure that you keep all of your contacts in one place, and you need to make sure that you are staying top of mind with them. You reach out, you touch them all the time just to see how they're doing. We do that. We put, 3-month, 6-month touch points, just a regular touch point. How you doing? Yeah. Put notes in, refer back to your notes. What's new with them. So, because it takes a lot to stay top of mind. So you have to be very proactive about that. But like I said, it could be a spreadsheet. It could be a little notebook that you just handwrite. It could be something really, exactly. It could be something sophisticated, like an actual relationship management software. But be genuine. When you talk to people, engage and give value, like all of these things. It's just so important for maintaining your guerrilla network. Show up, be active,
Well, consistency,
Yes.
being active, whenever you're putting in your touch points, being able to show that you truly listened to them whenever you met and spoke. If they mentioned they had something amazing coming up soon and you made note of that, maybe you send a little card with your business card. Maybe you shoot an email, just thinking about you today. I know you had some big stuff going on this week. I think those things, I know those things are what make the difference between I'm someone trying to come in and get out and get a sale and then move on to my next mark,
Right.
Or I'm here, I'm a community person. I want to be a part of what happens here. That's amazing. And I want to help you be a part of that with me. But, we're talking kind of along the same lines, which is that, obviously in our industry as bankers, but, how does this relate to the small artist? How does this relate to the mom that does not have a support system? How does this relate to, like, for instance, you homeschool your children and you have teenagers, how are they networking? How are they meeting people outside the normal, oh, we go into a school, we go to prom, we do this, more creatively? How can this kind of convey across a wider scope, you know?
Yes, absolutely. And I will say, like, I do try to and this is something else too. Regardless of the size of the area that you're in, helping your kids, because obviously it's good for the kids to stay active, and do things that push them and expand their knowledge and their skill set as well. So we do 4-H, which is great for everybody, plus tennis and soccer. And we don't do it, they're not overwhelmed. They're all different seasons, but it does allow me to meet so many people. Guys, if you're in an HOA, go to your board meetings. If if the HOA is holding an event, go, just go meet people, especially if you don't know your neighbors. It's good to get to know them.
Yes, important to network, the town meetings, if you're whatever citizen, wherever you are, try to go to a town meeting on the occasion and meet some of your, your town neighbors. Maybe they're not your next door neighbors. I'm thinking, if you're invited out with friends and they're like, hey, come along with us and let's meet some people. We're going to go, whatever. We know all these people. You're now meeting someone else's friends. You can. Yes. You can see who they know. There's so many ways to kind of meet new people, because that's what it all comes down to. It's just meeting new people, not being afraid of new people, and knowing that at our core, we are all just human beings here, and no one is scary or unapproachable. Everyone is just, we all put our pants on one leg at a time. So
that's great. Yes. And if somebody seems scary and unapproachable, I've cracked a few of those tough cookies. So sometimes they're your biggest allies once you get through that crunchy surface. And sometimes it's because they've been burned, So as long as you're showing up consistently and authentically for folks like that, sometimes that's just really all that they need. And then also, don't knock free events in your area. If we're talking about stuff like when you talk about soccer and tennis, like here in certain areas, you can find things that are very low cost or no charge at all. They just go by donation or whatever. But go to the park, go to fairs or festivals where there's no charge to get in and walk around. So there are definitely lots of ways to get out. Go to the library. Sounds crazy, but
library's great. No, it's amazing.
People and the sections of the genres that you enjoy reading, so anywhere.
Leverage your other hobbies, if you're a baker, go take the baking class and meet some new people. I'm an artist, go to the art seminars, go to the art fairs, go to the museums, go to the galleries, and wander around and take a business card. Like, this person is similar to, what my media is. And it'd be cool to kind of pick their brain and maybe collaborate, because we also want to grow. We want always to be thinking about what can we do to promote our business, promote ourselves, make a sale, make a, whatever it might be. But also, how are we expanding ourselves as human beings. You know, we have so much we can give to each other. Everyone out there knows something that you don't know. Every single person.
Right. And that is one of my favorite things, Laura. Like, you totally nailed it. I know that everybody I meet knows something I don't. They can teach me something.
Yes.
So, and it is such a great philosophy, and to be curious, like, just be curious.
Curious. That should be the fourth C. So I was telling you earlier, I saw that, you know, Forbes had a little, an article about, you know, networking and like the 3 C's of networking, which is cultivating connection, communication, and collaboration. But you just have the fourth C, you know, curiosity. If we are curious about each other, then that is going to give us the courage to be able to speak to that person. You're like, I really want to know, you know, how can I help them? What do they know I don't know? What can they bring to the table, you know, and what can we share? So I think
Love it.
It's amazing. And that helps me as an introvert when I'm thinking about, I have this event coming up, how am I going to put myself in that mental space where I don't freeze up? It's like, if I just remind myself that these are humans, we are all humans together, again, on this big blue ball in space, you know, and I'm going to meet some cool people. I'm setting a goal to meet this many people this evening. No agenda, just this evening, I'm going to meet this many people, and maybe it's going to be this many people I'm going to speak to again that I spoke to last time. So maybe you can kind of mix that up a little bit.
And don't be afraid to leverage the people around you. You know, if you're really struggling to break in and meet people as an introvert, get with an extrovert. Extroverts love to have introverts with them. And we will break you into the circle, and we will get the introductions going, and we will make it much easier. So that's also something that's good.
As a great tip, you know, that warm intro. A cold intro is always scary. A warm intro is so much better. It's so much, you know, friendlier. It's less pressure. That is a great, great point, I think.
Great. All right. So anything in closing, Laura?
I say, put on your brave pants if you're not brave. And if you are brave, grab a brave person. And let's think about, where can you go to meet people that you haven't gone yet? I challenge everyone to think of one thing that they can do to expand their network, to expand their tribe, and go do that this month.
Yes. Make a goal, talk to X number of people this week. Like you said, no agenda. I'm going to talk to 3 new people every week, or whatever you feel suits you best. Figure out how to get that done. If you need ideas or you're looking for tips or tricks, feel free to inbox us. We'd be more than happy to go over your situation and see if we can brainstorm with you.
Follow up.
That's right. Follow up with us, and we'll follow up with you. That's right.
Absolutely.
Everybody, thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Business Salad. I hope you enjoyed your lunch break with us, and we will see you next time.